What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today I will be reviewing a beer from Civil Society Brewing, and they are out of Jupiter, Florida, and this is their Fresh. So this is an IPA that comes in at 6.2% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed in time of review. I don't know exactly how old this can is because it does not have a can down date, but I will say I believe this is relatively fresh, and that's because this was sent to me by a very good friend of mine and fellow BeerTuber Tyler over at South 10 Beer Review. So huge thanks to him for this beer. In the description box, I'll post a link to Tyler's channel along with the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies he hooked me up with. Tyler's a great guy, has fantastic content, gets his hands on some fantastic beer like this, and I cannot recommend his channel enough. So go over there, give him a sub, check out his content. Great dude. Thanks again, Tyler. So, yeah, the name of this beer is Fresh, doesn't have a can down date, but like I said, Tyler, I believe, picked this up right before he sent it out, and I believe they just showed up. So I'd imagine this can is no older than 2 months old, probably even fresher than that, but it does say Fresh on it, and there's a lot of breweries that put keep cold and drink fresh on the label of their beers, but then they don't put a canned or bottled on date, and I'm just like, what the heck? Same thing here. It says Fresh, there's no can down date. Like, sure, I guess, maybe, we'll see. Anyway, Civil Society, I've had a beer from them before, like from their brewery, not a collaboration. It was their, I think, extra pulp. So their two flagship beers are pretty much this beer and their pulp. Pulp is an American wheat ale that is double dry hopped with mosaic hops. This beer, Fresh, 6.2% IPA. I believe they're using Citra and Columbus. Basically two flagship beers. I've never had pulp, though. I had their extra pulp, was like an imperialized version of their pulp, and I had it at a beer fest. But I've had collaborations with other half, Civil Society and other half, and they make pretty good beer. I've heard nothing but good things about them over the last 2 or 3 years, so to be able to try like their flagship beer, I'm all about it. So let's get it into the glass here and see what we got going on. So Citra and Columbus, you know, some older hops at this point, but I've had some Citra and Columbus beers that have been delicious, so hopefully that's the case here. So it's pouring out like your typical hazy, you know. All right, we'll go like that. Throw this over here, and we're good to go. So yeah, a little aggressive pour there at the end to generate a huge head. But yeah, that looks like orange juice, honestly, like really murky, turbid orange juice. Like maybe not with extra pulp, but maybe with a little bit of pulp. It just looks like OJ, the exact color of OJ. Now on person might be, or on camera might be a little bit darker, but in person definitely like OJ. Has about almost 3 finger of a really nice creamy looking head. Yeah, it looks great. If you're going to tell me this is a 6.2% IPA, sure, let's get a nose. Okay, so this smells super fresh. So maybe this is like a month old. Oh, man. This smells like freshly squeezed orange juice. There's tons of orange, tangerine, grapefruit, tangelo, just any kind of orange you want to name, it's in here. I'm going to inhale the head because got to live. A little bit of like a peach, nectarine, apricot, almost like stone fruit vibe as well. It has almost a slight confectionery sweetness, like you put lactose in here, but it isn't like overblown or like in my face, but it just smells like that. It smells like a sweet orange juice. A little bit of like an earthy herbaceousness on, yeah, like right after you're hit with all those aromatic citrus characters, then there's a little bit of like an herbaceous, earthy kind of vibe to it. Ooh, went back, a little sweeter peaches, so peach gummy ring things. Yeah, I'd say peach gummy rings, but maybe not like as sweet, like with the crystallized sugars, maybe remove them. It smells really good. Fresh, sure. It smells like freshly squeezed orange juice, tangerine juice, something like that. Maybe a little bit sweeter, but man, it's making my mouth water. So let's get into it. Cheers, everybody, and thanks again, Tyler. That's weird. Super easy to drink. First things I'll say, body, 6.2, it's nice. It's like almost approaching medium. The mouthfeel has a decent, I'd say like mild to moderate carbonation, really soft, really smooth on the palate, almost creamy, awesome mouthfeel. Of course, some more in here. The reason why I said weird is that nose was screaming like super sweet, juicy citrus fruits, mostly orange and tangerine. And then I come in here for the sip, and it's nowhere near as sweet as I thought it was going to be, which isn't a bad thing. So the first thing I noticed is there is a slightly sweet malt character. It's crackery, a little bit doughy, and that's omnipresent underneath everything on the palate. From front to back, it's definitely there. Slight graininess to it. But up front, I'm hit with that orange, that tangerine, maybe like a white grapefruit. But here's the thing. The difference from the nose to the taste for me is that it's those fruits, but it encompasses the entire fruit in the taste, where in the nose, you were just getting like the flesh or the juiciness of the actual like pulp and flesh itself. Where in the taste, it's everything from the juice to the flesh, to the pith, to the rind. It's zesty. It's all of the fruit. But it's orange, it's tangerine, it's grapefruit right at the front of the palate, but it's the entire fruit. So you get like a pop of juiciness, but then there's like a little bit of like a zesty, pithy bitterness. That carries on. Middle of the palate, I'm hit with like a slight apricot, almost nectarine type of like undersweeten, like the actual flavor of those fruits without the accompanied sweetness. And then this one on the back of the palate kind of bitters out decently. This is like a moderate bitterness and a semi-dry finish. So I thought this was going to be a way sweeter than it is. And to be honest with you, I think I'd want a little bit more sweetness. I feel like this is a lower ABV IPA that doesn't have a lot of sweetness, but it could be helped by the sweetness, because I think the drinkability for me personally would pretty much be one and done with this can for me and this beer in general. I think that bitterness is going to continue to build. There's like a little bit of like an herbaceous earthiness. Same thing I was getting in the nose. That's kind of accompanying like almost like a slightly pine resin thing on the back. This is a solid beer, but I was hoping I'll put it this way. I'm a guy that when it comes to IPAs, I like them to be sweet but not too sweet. I want some balance. I want a big sweetness up front, and I want it to balance out in the back of the palate. I feel like this has that back of the palate, like moderate bitterness, moderate dryness, a little bit of like a pine resin earthiness thing going on, but the front of the palate isn't sweet enough to kind of balance it out enough to my liking. That said, super easy to drink. I could crush this can without question, but I think by the time I'm done with this can, I'm going to be like, it's not. So for me, I could see some people drinking this and it being a super sessionable IPA, 6.2%. You drink 2 or 3 cans, you're not going to get fucking completely ripped, get a little buzz on, and be happy about it. But for me, I need a little bit more sweetness to enhance that fruit character at the front of the palate. I think if I had that, I think this would be delicious. As is, it's a really good beer. It's really tasty. Let me take it back. I don't think it's a really good beer. I don't think it's super tasty. It's a good, well-constructed beer, albeit leans a little bit, I don't even want to say too bitter. It's a bit unbalanced, slightly disjointed to my palate. But again, I can see people drinking this and just absolutely loving it. So this beer for me, solid, good. I enjoy it. I'll drink the rest of that, have no problem. So I'm going to give Fresh from Civil Society, I'm going to give it a high 3.75 out of 5. I'm going to go 3.85. Almost gets in the low 4. I think with more sweetness, I think this lands probably high 4, like 4.1 for me. As is, a 3.85 is the best I can do. Like I said, not bad in the least. I feel like a beer like this should be balanced. It's a low ABV beer. You want, all that hop character, but you don't want something that's going to lean too bitter or too sweet. I kind of want a balance, and I'm just not getting it. So price and availability, I don't know, Tyler. You tell me, buddy. I don't know what he paid for this. I'd imagine 4-packs of this at the brewery. Hopefully, they're not more than like $18 a 4-pack, but hopefully more in the $16 4-pack range. Let me know what you paid for it, Tyler. And if anybody lives in Florida and can get their hands on this regularly, let me know what you pay for it. And availability, I have no idea. I do know you can get them in Jupiter, Florida. You can get them in Florida in general. Don't know their distribution footprint. I know Tyler sees these around his neck of the woods in Tennessee, but outside of that, I have no idea. So I'm not really, here's the thing, I'm not disappointed because I go into most beer reviews without like expectations, like unless it's like a bucket beer or something, or bucket list beer or something that like, I've been waiting to try a long time. This, I was excited to give it a go. And I think I'm slightly disappointed because of the aroma. I think if the aroma would have translated into taste, I'd be super happy about this beer, but it didn't. And that's not a bad thing. And again, I think a lot of people will drink this one and really like it. For me, just need a little bit more sweetness, and I think this would be a damn tasty low ABV IPA. So thanks again to Tyler for hooking me up with this one. Thanks to everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. 6.2%. You can't taste the alcohol because that's how beers like this are nowadays. 6.2%. If you can taste the alcohol, I don't know, something's wrong nowadays when you can taste the alcohol in like a sub 7% beer. So yeah, anyway, till the next one. Cheers.